I feel like I always kind of had an idea when I was in like elementary and middle school, because I was one of those like tomboys, but at the same time, I liked being the girly girl, and it was always this like conflict in me that I could never really resolve.
I felt like I knew early on when I was a child, but I was really programmed to be a girl. So I just was a tomboy for all my childhood and adolescence and early adulthood years.
I grew up in a really conservative household, and like even as a little kid, when I had this feeling in the back of my head, I really wouldn't allow myself to question the reality that I was existing in.
I have what I call my my boy clothes, which is literally just one plaid shirt and a pair of jeans that could really go either way, and then the same boots that I wear for everything. But I used to wear that. My brother thought he had a shirt that matched, and we used to live together for like a short span of time, and I remember him being like, "Oh, you're like my little brother," and I just looked at him.
I had two older brothers, and I was the girl, and the girl has to be a certain way that is different from the boys.
I was in my second year of college, and I had been doing drag for a while, and I started to experience this strange sensation of waking up and thinking, and what most trans people refer to as dysphoria. And I was thinking, oh my God, I don't identify as a man.
When I was able to be more honest about it was really only about 2 or 3 years ago. I started doing like drag on stage as part of my performances, and just because I thought it would be fun. And I had a friend come up to me after one and ask, is this something that you're doing for performances, or is this like a day-to-day thing? And I just kind of internally was like, oh no, I don't know.
I started like freaking out, thinking, because again, in a binary sense, thinking if you're not a man, then you have to be a woman. And I was going, oh my God, I'd be a terrible woman. Like, I'd be a horrible woman.
I identify as a non-binary woman. I just tack on that extra thing because I'm non-binary in my gender, but I'm a woman in the fact that I live my life as female presenting, and all of my experiences are feminized.
I'm binary, genderqueer.
The best combination of words would be a non-binary trans woman.
At the moment, I feel anywhere along the lines of genderqueer, gender fluid.
I think it's easier, you know, people get really up in a bunch about like labels. Like people are like, I don't want labels, I don't want labels. But labels help us find community, and they help us put things in boxes in our own head. And then once we have those boxes and we have kind of a scheme for working with them in our head, then we can go forward and break those boundaries. Once you have rules, you can break them, kind of thing.
Well, if I hadn't have heard what non-binary was, I would have known how to kind of put a label on me. I would have just continued being like, I'm a tomboy, and at the same time kind of been lying to myself.
Being able to find language is kind of a rock for me, in that I'm finally learning how to talk about the person I am after 25 years. It's incredibly affirming.
You can morph words to fit who you are. Like, I've started using, instead of using like female and male bodies, I've started using masculinized and feminized.
The term of queer and gender fluid has let me feel like, oh, so all this masculinity that I have, there's a place for that in my life, and I have to embrace that. And there's femininity in my life, and I want to embrace that too, want to feel it. And there's also a lot of in between and outside of that I want to embrace too, because I think we're more than, you know what I mean, like a set of genitalia and whatever things go with it. I brought a pencil.
This is a guitar that I found at a thrift store for $7.
Queer history of the United States.
This is my personal journal right here.
I believe in simplicity when it comes to creating, and This is one of my favorite tools because they're everywhere.
I've been playing guitar since I was 6 years old. But it's always been a really important meditation for me personally.
It really changed my perspective about queer people, queer theory, queer community, and what's important, where we've come from, where we're going, that kind of thing.
I have an old sepia picture of my grandfather walking down Main Street, Columbia. He and I had such like a complicated relationship, and equally complicated right under him is my dad. And I do have a very strong paternal bond with a lot of my family.
My brief encounter with the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence.
I write poetry every now and then. Yeah, really, really emotional, like cringy poetry.
I'm a stand-up comedian. I've been doing that for about 3.5 years now.
The Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence are a charity organization of queer nuns.
And then you read it to edit it and you're like, oh God, and you just put it away.
Basically what they do is they tell you it's okay to be you, it's okay to exist as you are unapologetically, and you're not broken, you don't need fixing.
Comedian face, all right. I don't understand why we say that milk is pasteurized, because everything is pasteurized.
Don't get uptight when other people enforce their genders.
I've had some trans antagonistic cis people from various walks of life in relation to me say things like they feel like they're walking on eggshells around me, but you know, being afraid to say the wrong word lest you upset somebody, I don't really think is walking on eggshells. You know, I can't walk outside of the bar district without having casual slurs and threats yelled at me. You know, that's walking on eggshells.
I mean, it's people's identities, and you know, you have to obviously respect them in every way you know how. But it sometimes turns into that thing where, like, if you misgender someone, then you ramble on about how sorry you are for the next 15 minutes, and you just made it 10 times worse by continuing.
Do some Googling and some soul searching, eat your food and go.
If I know you because I work with you or because I share a space with you, I have no entitlement to your identity. I have nothing to say about it. It's not my journey.
It makes me feel better if we just acknowledge it and go, because there's so many other aspects to my identity than my pronoun.
If somebody tells you, this is who I am, you respect that.
For people that are very quick to get frustrated with language surrounding their trans friends, keep in mind that they are putting in more work. That's what I want to say.